high-rise towers in the Sydney suburb of Redfern house 3,000 of the city's most vulnerable. COVID is now spreading through at least 6 densely populated public housing towers here.
Yeah, some of them are safe, some of them are right.
Basil McLeod, known to his neighbours as Uncle, is one of many Indigenous residents. He's now in isolation after his nephew, who lives with him, contracted COVID.
Everyone's scurrying now to do something about it, but they should have been doing things a lot earlier, before now.
New South Wales Health says there are now 150 active cases in the Redfern-Waterloo area, but wouldn't specify how many people are infected inside the buildings. Yvonne Weldon says several of her relatives who live in the towers have contracted COVID in the building.
There's a lot of unknowns as well. How we approach this shouldn't have been at the 11th hour or certainly beyond it. The way that the people need to be informed cannot be done as a bulletin out to everyone. You need to be able to do it in a socially supportive way.
She and others have been frustrated with the state government's response.
And we believe it needs coordinated collaboration to be effective, and that's not happening.
Nathan Moran from the local Land Council says the tower residents are now facing major risk.
We're looking at some of the oldest public housing, certainly in this part of the country for New South Wales, here in Redfern. And I suppose the design of these buildings isn't fit for dealing with pandemics. This is ground zero for us at the moment. Just last night we had 2 elderly men taken to hospital.
It isn't the first time there's been concern over outbreaks at public housing complexes.
It's the most drastic coronavirus countermeasure yet. The total lockdown of at least 3,000 residents in public housing towers in Flemington and North Melbourne, effective immediately.
Next to Australia and an extraordinary state of affairs, 3,000 people being told to stay in their homes, and some of them are saying the government's been slow to provide essential supplies.
The handling of public housing outbreaks in Australia has been met with international and domestic criticism. In July last year, the Victorian government locked down 3,000 public housing tenants. Later, the state's ombudsman deemed it breached human rights.
If you live within what I'm living currently, you would feel you're in a prison.
But in South Sydney, there's been a different approach. Buildings with infected residents aren't locked down. Instead, tenants who have not been in contact with cases can leave after 2 negative results across 5 days. Some residents say the rules are unclear and hard to police, and are aware of people leaving isolation before receiving their results.
We were kind of left on our own. That's maybe the problem, that if a health worker came and people talked to the health worker and said that the results are delayed, and the health worker put up a poster saying, yes, it's going to be about 7 days. Please continue to isolate until you get your results. But we were kind of thrashing around on our own.
New South Wales Health says the situation is being brought under control. It's also offering alternative accommodation if cases or contacts are unable to safely isolate at home. One of the things health officials are doing to try and reduce cases and the obvious risk of ongoing outbreaks here is through really pushing vaccination, and just across the road from here, a makeshift vaccination centre has been set up.
Today, in all honesty, I just got up and I made my choice to get the first shot because it's getting worse around in our communities.
Raymond King says the outbreak has dispelled any vaccine hesitancy among the residents here.
It's right here, it's live, and there's people that we're dealing with every day. It's like dodging everyone now around here because we know how scary it is, and there are people here right now that's got it. And so what are we going to do? How do we protect ourselves? By getting the shot.
So far, more than 63% of residents in the towers have had a first dose, some towers reaching 80%. Local charity worker Reverend Bill Cruz has been volunteering at the flats.
So what we're doing here is we are a mass vaccination so that people can wander down from the buildings, come into the car park, have a meal, have a bit of a chat to other people, it's socially distanced, and get their vaccination.
Yvonne Weldon says there's promising signs, but she remains concerned about the future of people's health here.
There are so many parts of our community that are vulnerable in ways that we don't even understand, and yet if we don't have those services available, if we actually aren't reaching out from a local level, I'm really concerned for their livelihood, but their lives as well.
Hi, I'm Lee Sales. Thanks for watching this story. If you'd like to watch more of 730's stories, they are on the left of your screen. And tap on the button below to subscribe and get the latest from ABC News.